Hi, I'm Paul James Caden. I am an ordained spiritualist minister, certified angel medium, angel card reader, spiritual counselor, and trance medium healer. In this podcast, we will endeavor to talk about things that are happening in our world from a spiritual and balanced perspective. We will also talk about such things as spirituality, spiritualism, the paranormal, angels, ghosts, and all things that pertain to your personal and spiritual well-being. I hope that you'll join me as we explore a plethora of topics and try to make a difference through this humble show. I'll see you all on the spirit side. Welcome to the Spirit Side, everyone. I'm Paul James Caden, and I hope that all of you that enjoyed the 1159 podcast will stick around. As I said in the little farewell podcast for 1159, we're still going to cover some of those peculiar subjects that we covered in 1159 because they are important. They are happening in our world right now, and certainly they do need to be addressed. And the spirit side has a wide range of topics and subjects that it has always talked about. So I hope you will all stick around and enjoy the spirit side. And to kick the spirit side off right after the farewell of 1159, we're going to talk about something here that is very 1159-ish, and that is the cult of politics. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I have to say straight up, and I know that there are some people that agree with my opinion and others do not, and that's fine. But I am honestly one of those people that I'm not so sure, at least here in the United States of America and probably the world over, I am not so sure that our vote really counts. And this isn't something that I picked up from listening to conspiracy people. This was something that I noticed long before I ever heard of a lot of these conspiracy theorists, before a lot of them were even around or before there was even a YouTube, frankly. And that I began to, and many of you probably heard me say this before, I began to call these elections almost like they were old wrestling matches. Remember when for those of you who might watch wrestling or be fans of wrestling, before it was the WWE, it was the WWF, and you knew it was fake, you know, even when you were a teenager, when you were a kid, you knew this stuff was fake. And there was a formula to the wrestling matches, and you could usually call who was going to win. You know, like if you watch wrestling on a Saturday morning and Hulk Hogan came out, the champ, and he went up against some mediocre wrestler that was beating everybody up on, Saturday morning, you knew the bad guy was going to come out swinging, beat the crap out of Hulk Hogan for a little while. Then about midway through the match, the champ was going to make this big comeback and pin the bad guy. You knew it. You could call it every time. And I began to call elections that way. And not only elections, but when they would have the primaries before an election and all these candidates would come out, who is going to be the candidate for the Republicans, who is going to be the candidate for the Democrats, and all their best people came out. And I called that too. I would be like, this guy's too honest. This guy makes too much sense. This guy is too humble. This guy has too much of a common sense plan. All of these people are little by little going to be foisted out of the presidential race because there's going to be all these scandals that come up on them, bad press, bad publicity, and they're just going to be shamed out of the race because they're not wanted. They make too much sense. They care too much. And sure enough, all the people that I named who made sense and seemed like they were legitimate people that wanted to make a difference, scandals, bad press, all kind of crazy stuff that would just inevitably get them booted from the race. And then it would come down to, the top two. And I could usually call that who that was because it would be one of the people that was the most radical or didn't say a whole lot, said they had a plan, but never said exactly what that plan was. And then the debates would come, and I began to call the debates. I remember the one between, it was Barack Obama, and I can't remember the other guy's name. He was the Mormon. I want to say David Reed, but I know that's not his name. It escapes me at the moment, but nonetheless, I called that debate. Before it even happened, I told my wife, I said, it's going to come on the first debate. The Republican guy is going to murder Barack Obama. He's going to make him look bad. He's going to win that debate. But then, like classic WWF fashion, Barack Obama is going to make the big comeback in debate number 2 and debate number 3 and win. And everybody's going to reelect Barack Obama. And sure enough, that is exactly what happened. How did I know that? Am I a genius? No. Am I a prophet? Maybe. But for real, I just started to see the formula, and I've seen it for a number of years where I could call these things, and I was right. And believe me, every time I would call these things, I would say, I hope I'm wrong. I hope it doesn't turn out the way that I think it's going to, but I'm always right. So this leads me to believe either I'm greatly smarter than I think I am, or I'm onto that formula. And these people know who they want in office, and this whole election and voting and candidates is nothing but a circus to make us feel like we're doing something, but they already have pre-picked who they want. And I'll tell you something else when it came down to Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. They changed their game up a little bit. There were a couple things that I was a little rocky on, but then it kind of came back around to the way that I thought it would. And I told my wife again, I said, here's how I think it's going to go. When Barack Obama was president, everybody, all the conservatives, all the Republicans were crying for a conservative in the White House. No more liberals, no more progressives. And I said, when Barack Obama is done with his 2 terms, and I told my wife this while Barack Obama was still in the White House, I said, I think they're going to give him, if I am correct, they're going to give the people the conservative that many are crying for. But they're going to put someone in there who's going to look like an absolute madman. And by the time he is done, no one will ever want to vote Republican or conservative again. because this man will kill the party. Sounds a little familiar, doesn't it? It was a little difficult to call Hillary and Trump. But I told my wife, I said, it looks like Hillary's going to win this thing. However, I don't doubt, and I'm at least 95% sure that Donald Trump is going to win. And then he's going to pull a complete reversal, and he's going to be the conservative madman that I talked about a year or so ago. Now, I say all that just to make my case that why I don't believe our votes count. I think it's fixed. I think it's fake. I think they know who they want in there because, and here comes the cult of politics. These people, these politicians, every single one of them, they all belong to these very spurious secret societies. They all belong to these secret societies that have very peculiar philosophies that teach them that they are the lords of the earth and the gods of the universe, and they are divine, and they are the powerful, and they will control everything, and they must do things a certain way on the earth and build their utopia. You've heard me talk about this stuff before, and it's true. And they all have the globalist agenda because that's part of it. If we can get everything, every country, all the resources, all the money under one umbrella, then they've got it. Because then it is truly the few, those who consider themselves the elites, literally control the whole wide world. Do you see it, ladies and gentlemen? Tell me you're not blind to this fact, because it's the truth. And I don't know if there's any such thing as an honest politician anymore, because politics has become such a game, a business, almost cult-like, that if you don't play by their rules, you are definitely out. So I don't think you're going to get an honest Abe or a George Washington or whoever. I feel like those days are gone, and any man or woman that gets into politics that is honest, that they don't stand a chance. They either convert to what the cult of politics is doing, or they're not going to have a career. And we've seen that happen to a few people that did have integrity in the recent past. So, you want to talk about the spirit side. You want to talk about spirituality and so many things in life and in our world that does have a spiritual overtone or undertone. Everything does. And I don't care how secular people want to try to be. The government, these big industries, the advertising industries, the people that start the trends that so many people follow, they all adhere to certain occult rituals, beliefs, ways of influencing the minds of others. It's everywhere. And if you don't think that it's in politics, then certainly you're not seeing the facts because these people do belong to these secret societies. They have their spiritual agenda. It is to make their utopia on this earth, and that utopia consists of them having all the resources, ruling the world, cutting down the population where it's much more controllable and sustainable for the planet, and many other things. And now you listen to many of these politicians talk. What are they always talking about? Too many people. One world government. Globalization. All coming together. Global currency. I mean, we have to learn to connect the dots here. It's not that hard once you understand the mindset of these people. And I've said before, on the spirit side and on 1159, these people don't care who they hurt, who they kill, who they dispose of, how bad they destroy the environment, pollute the sky, pollute the water, pollute the land. Because they feel when all is said and done, well, you know, they have the technology and the money. They can either just rebuild it, or they'll all go to another planet. They'll go to the moon. They'll go to Mars. And how many of these billionaires right now are racing to go to the moon by 2030, before 2030? Because the United Nations says by 2030, I think it was 1/3 or 1/4 of the Earth will be uninhabitable if they don't stop the global warming problem. And now suddenly there's the race to the moon to get there by 2025 by these very rich and elite people. I mean, again, connect the dots. And what's really sad about it is how so many people follow these politicians, follow these political parties, as if they are the new saviors, the new religion, the new gods. People being so divided. Oh, on one political party, you're another. Well, there's something wrong with you. I hate you because you're a Democrat. I hate you because you're a Republican. You're stupid. You're a libtard. You're, you know, whatever colorful name they call one another. And then we literally have people, and I might step on some toes here, and I might make some people mad, and there might be some people that might not want to listen to the podcast anymore, or not want to listen to it on YouTube anymore, and that's okay. We're all free to have our personal opinions, and I don't hate anyone, I don't belittle anyone, and I don't put anyone down for having their opinion. You can disagree with me, and I wish you the best. God bless. I am not going to think any less of you because of what you personally think, but I hope you'll listen to what I'm about to say. Because there are people out there who are so hypnotized by this cult of personality, this cult of politics that it has become. And believe me, folks, they want that. These people who think that they are the lords of the earth and the gods of the universe, they want that kind of undying allegiance, that people will riot, people will kill one another for them, for their ideology. That's what they want. They want the people to put them on some kind of pedestal and look at them like they're some kind of gods, because they think they are gods. And the sad thing is, is I was going to say, and stick with me here, if this upsets you, I'm sorry, but there are people out there who think Donald Trump is a man sent by God to save the United States. Mixing politics with religion. Jesus said, my kingdom is not of this world. So if you're a follower of Jesus, and there's a lot of Christians that, well, they just look at Donald Trump almost like he's the second coming. But if you're a follower of Christ, what are you doing by putting this man on such a pedestal? Do you really think God would work through a man? Now, I'm not picking any political side here. I've said it before, and I'll say it again just to make myself clear. I will vote for what it's worth for the man or the woman, whatever party they are. I don't care. I'll vote for the person I think will do the best job for the people. Now, that's become an increasingly more difficult task because so many of these people are not honest. And you can tell it's a political show. It's a political farce. So I'm not stepping on anybody's toes saying, oh, you Republicans, oh, you Democrats. No. I have no dog in that fight. So I don't care if he's Democrat. I don't care if he's Republican. Do you think God would work through a man who gives such hate speech, lets children be taken away from their parents and put in virtual prisons where they're sick, where they're dying, and then lie about it and say, oh no, those conditions are fine? Belittle and talk about other people in Congress because of their skin color and say they don't love America, send them back. And get a group of people that claim to be religious, chanting, send them back, send them back. Division, hate. Is that how you think God works? Or does that sound like the mindset of a very dangerous cult? You know, my co-host Stan Wanglund on People Under the Stairs, he watched the recent Trump rally. And when he was saying send them back, he said he noticed, and I noticed it too, that there were people in the audience looking at one another like, is this okay to say? Should we do it? Should we join in this chant, send them back? And once enough people started doing it, everybody started doing it. Following. Never mind following your conscience. Never mind following the leading of God in your heart to say, man, this is wrong. What am I doing? No, man, let's get out there and follow the crowd. He's saying it, the big politician up on behind his podium. Everybody else in the audience is saying it, and they're conservatives, and they're Republicans, and most of them are Christians, so I'm going to say it too. How wrong is that? And if you think that's spiritual, if you think that's God, if you think that's biblical, if you think that's Jesus, then friend, you are making one serious, colossal mistake. And we got all these people out there crying and squalling, oh, the Antichrist, oh, the Antichrist, oh, the Antichrist is coming. Oh, I don't want to follow the Antichrist. Don't follow the Antichrist. And these are the same people lining up like rats, following the Pied Piper behind a man, behind a politician. And it doesn't matter what he says or what he does. They will back him and fight for him because he's in their favored party. They think he's a Christian. They think he's here to save the world and the United States. So it doesn't matter what he does. Oh, sure, he's flawed, but he was sent here by God. He's the Trump of God. Now, I'm not picking on Donald Trump. I'm just using this as a classic, glaring example of this cult of politics. Because there are people on the other side of the aisle, the Democrats, who do the same thing. They will follow their favored political party candidate to the grave. And it's like my wife says, watching the latest Trump rally, she said, you know, these politicians, they could get up there and kill a baby in front of them. And most of these people would applaud it because they're that blind. And you know something? Very, very sadly, she's right. You're so afraid of the Antichrist. You're so afraid of the beast system. Some of you out there may be listening to this podcast. What kind of system do you think you're following right now? Do you think this is from God? Do you think this has the blessing of heaven? Again, you need to reconsider that position if you answer yes. Go back and read your Bible. Love is kind. Love is gentle. Love takes no account of a wrong done to it. Love endures all things. Love is peaceful. Go back and read those things, what love is. Read what the fruit of the Spirit is. Faith, love, joy, gentleness, kindness, patience. And then run those lists of what the fruit of the Spirit and love is against what these politicians are doing and what you're doing in the name of those politicians. And you tell me if you're not following a cult. Because that is precisely what they want you to do. And that is a dangerous, dangerous game that a lot of people are playing. And let me just add one more little stick to the fire before we end this podcast. Did you know that in socialism and communism and such political ideologies, that one of the ways, well, they actually all go together. You have to look this up because there's several things that they do that go together to have the people crying out for the government to save them. And then they get their man or their woman and their party and their system in place. And the things they do to make that happen. First, undermine all the social values that once were there and people had. Get rid of them. Take religion away from the people. Undermine religion. Even here in America, biggest Christian country in the world, how much is atheism running rampant. And I'm not picking on atheists. The church is letting people down, so everybody's seeking answers and refuge in these politicians. Cause division, global unrest, cause riots, get the people to be divided and fight amongst themselves, then eventually cause food shortages and water shortages. Make it so miserable that the people eventually cry out, we just want somebody to help us. We can't take this anymore. We can't take this oppression anymore. We're afraid. We're hungry. And then they slip right in and say, sure, this is what's going to save you. You can find those lists on the internet, ladies and gentlemen, how communism and socialism, the steps they take to break down society, to break down a country in order to insert their party without anyone resisting or saying, oh no, this is America. This is a republic. This is a democratic system. We don't want your communism. We don't want your socialism. We don't want one party, one person ruling over us like a king or a dictator. No, they'll break it down so badly that the people will cry for that in the end. And then you look what's happening all over the world. And you know what the interesting thing is about it, folks? It's the same, many of them are the same techniques that a cult will use to break down their new members. Turn them against their family, undermine and break down their former religious values and beliefs, isolate them, make them feel like nobody cares, nobody is there for them, make them feel lost, make them feel hopeless, twist their minds and use mind-bending techniques to manipulate their feelings and their thoughts to think the way you want them to think. Same techniques, only on a smaller individual scale. But now we have these secret society politicians doing it on a global scale. And they have much more influence and many ways to break people down. Don't they try to manipulate people's thoughts through advertising and trends and social media and all this other stuff? But now they can not only break down a person's mind and manipulate their thoughts, but they can break them through the food shortages, water shortages. And look at all these companies. Look at Nestle. Look at all these big companies buying up all the water sources all across the world. You think this is all by accident? No. Because look at cults. Religious cults. One of the ways they will break their people too is through starvation. Lock them away in a room, beat them, torture them, yell at them. Lack of sleep, don't give them any food, don't give them any water, just break them down any way you can until they finally say, yes, I accept the ideology of the cult. Yes, I look at the cult leader as being God incarnate. He's the new Jesus. I receive it all. Just let the suffering end, and then it ends. And that cult leader does inevitably become the person's new savior. And again, mirror it. Exact same thing happening in politics, the cult of politics. You know, a lot of religious and Christian people like to quote the Bible, and they look at anything and everything, many times misquoting the verse or quoting the verse when it comes to anything and everything, but they'll say, they quote that verse in the Bible about Babylon the Great in the last days where God says, "Come out of her, my people, and touch not the unclean thing." And they don't realize that Babylon the Great in the Bible isn't rock music. It isn't reading a Stephen King novel. It's a political system. It's a political/religious system. A bastardization of a theocracy that has no one's good in mind but its own. And if you follow it, it will corrupt you. It will darken your soul. It will lead you nowhere good. So I just want you to remember that Babylon the Great is a religious/political system, or rather a political/religious system hybrid. And it is the beast system that say many people follow after, and they marvel after the beast. And here we have so many people, including religious people, following after and marveling after these politicians and these political parties, and saying globalization would be a good thing. One World Bank would be a good thing. I just want you to think about that. This is something I will probably do another podcast on at another time. There's a lot to say about all of this. But for now, I just wanted to bring this to your attention and say, look, ladies and gentlemen, get out of the cult of politics. Don't follow it. Don't follow these parties. Don't follow these people. It is taking you nowhere that is good. It is going to end badly, very badly. And they know it. Don't be fooled by their charade. Think about it. Meditate on it. Pray about it. Search your own conscience about all of this. Because deep down inside, you know I'm telling you the truth. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time for this podcast. I appreciate you all listening. I hope that you did learn something from this and it made you think, because that's what this work is all about. I wish you all peace and light, and I'll see you here again next time on The Spirit Side.